Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Wednesday, 21st of April, 2021, and welcome to Hindsight, where everyone's a professional after the market's closed. We're going to take a brief look at what happened today and potentially why it happened, along with some potential trades, what was out there, and maybe you missed out on today and you want to just know and catch up what happened, or maybe just get my train of thought on what happened. So first things first, we're going to take a dive into CGF. Now this is the daily chart, a follow-on from yesterday. The fib levels just didn't hold whatsoever, didn't care, just smashed right through it. Big gap down. Let's have a look at the intraday chart. Now this was pretty much a no-brainer follow-on from yesterday, but I didn't catch it till a bit late. So it sold off. Someone caught my attention by mentioning it in Discord. It bounced to VWAP, and then once it rejected off VWAP, I started scaling in, took a few ticks out of it, and this horizontal here was kind of a key level as well. Came back down to VWAP, and again, another opportunity to short. It's very rare for a stock to sell off like this, come back to VWAP, and then break through VWAP, especially on such a big downwards trend. So there was an opportunity there. I didn't take it. My eyes were drawn elsewhere. So let's take a look at what I did trade as well. So NXL, this one I thought was heavily oversold based on the news. The forecast was off by what, 4% or something like that. It wasn't terrible. We'll just zoom out and take a look at the daily chart here. Obviously the gap down was pretty significant, and that's a pretty big sell-off considering the forecast I thought wasn't that terribly bad. So we have a level here at 460. We can see the horizontal. We open up the 1 minute chart, and that really should have been the level to short at. But for me, I matched and scalped it. The buyers came in pretty heavy. It was like almost one big market order came in around 441. So it dipped from 448, which is what I got a short on. I was trying to get out 441, bit too slow. It pumped up all the way to like 457 or something like that in just one hit. I managed to close that at 451. So 3 tick loss on that one, unfortunately, but what you're going to do, the trade there really was the opening price when it broke down, and then of course the bottom of the opening candle is also pretty significant as well. So this is the most important part of the trade, is the opening action. So it pumped, and then of course you can see it kind of respected it for a couple of candles and then broke through. So when it starts breaking down like this, you know, you've got to, obviously your opening volatility. So it shoots up. That's just unfortunate. You know, take the loss, and then it sort of consolidates here at the high. It fails at this major level here at 448, which is the opening price, and of course it dumps. Now that's a trade I missed out on because again my eyes were elsewhere. I was looking at other stocks for the morning because this opened somewhere around 10:06, I think it was. Now the other stock today, and this one's fascinating, was ATH. This one I've got a bit of history with. If we go back to the first time it ever pumped. So we can see here today, really high volumes. It actually closed green for once. We can see every time it has high volumes, it does close green, but it doesn't look crash hot. Here's another example when it opened up at 4.8, shot up and shot down. Again, another gap up into a sell-off. And really, it's just a shitty stock overall. It's got high shares on issue, 2 billion shares on issue. It's difficult to move. We'll talk about the intraday in a second. But I do want to point out a lesson that I did learn last year, and that was to always look out for a US listing. Now, for those of you who day trade, you probably are aware that FDA approvals are fantastic news announcements to trade. On ATH on this day, I'll put up a screenshot actually. I'll put it in the comment section below so you guys can see this absolutely disgusting trade. Maybe you can projectile vomit along with me. I traded this one, from memory, I got to bring up the screen cap, but it was around 1.8 to 1.8. So I bought in 1.8, sold 1.8. FDA approval is usually a fantastic news announcement to trade. And this was really where I started to learn that if there's a good news announcement, make sure that there's a US listing if there is one. So really all it is you just got to type in the company name. So ATH was Alterity. So when you type it in, you can see there's a US listing here on the NASDAQ. I don't think it's an OTC, but you can see there's a big gap up on this day. Big gap up, and really that's what caused it to move the following day on ATH on the Australia listing. Even though the news was on this day here on the 30th of June, it moved in the US that night, and then the Australian market moved alongside it. So I broke even, and then the next day it gapped up pretty much a bag, and then it just 10 bagged. It's a pretty disgusting thing to see. So yeah, this stock has a history of just being a massive pump and dump, and you can see when on the zoom out view exactly what happened. Now on the 1 minute chart, the news announcement, I forget what it was. It was something to do with animal studies and Parkinson's, or it sounded like Parkinson's disease. Really just read the headlines, what I did. I saw it was an animal study, and I wasn't too interested. Like, animal studies usually don't cause a market reaction. I think people might have just read the headline and then caused a bit of a market move, and just a bit of momentum, I guess, was behind that. So I was watching here at 3.5, 3.4. I was tempted to take a 3.5. I was just hesitant. I was like, yeah, but look at the volumes. If I just show you the opening price action, big opening candle. Volumes were kind of abysmal. Barely any trades. 300,000 shares. Not much. And then one big buyer steps up. Pushes it to 3.8. I queue up at 3.7. I get it. And I was really happy to scalp it to 3.9. And that's pretty much all she wrote for me. That was the trade. I got out for break even a couple of times, trying to swing it back to the upside. Didn't come to fruition. 4.1. And then it failed to push past 4.2, really, just a little tick above to 4.3. Came back to 4.1. There was no choice but to bail out and just watch it, basically. 3.7 was VWAP. Fake order got pulled. I think it was like 5 million shares out of 7 got pulled, and it just dumped to 3.6. So it was below VWAP if I bring up the VWAP bands again. So the white dotted line is VWAP. It went comfortably below VWAP, so I thought it was pretty much dead for the day. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, we have 26 million shares. So 26 million shares at 3.7, 3.8, 3.9. Yeah, it's a massive order, right? This is the kind of stuff that moves markets. That's $1 million order, effectively. So 20 million shares at around that price is roughly $1 million. Monster order. Multiple lines wiped. For me, it was as simple as get the fuck in there, right? You see that kind of volume, you just buy. And the funny thing is, and I only managed to scalp it for a tick or two, a tick and a half, sorry, I scaled out, was the fact that this happened here. So the same buyer, at least I suspect the same buyer, monstered an order from 4.2 to 3.9, I think it was. Here's the replay. No, to 4, sorry. So here's the replay of what happened in real time, 1x speed. Fucking bang. Imagine that. Imagine holding the bag from 4.2 and seeing that happen. And then he pulled his order eventually. So that is, yeah, 20 million shares sitting on the sell side. Now, I imagine that was roughly a 26 million share order, I think, that went through. So the person that bought here might not have been the exact same person that sold at this level here, but it smells like a big fat finger trade, right? So someone maybe accidentally marketed 20 million instead of 2 million at this level here at 3.7 to 3.9. Either way, I've never seen anything like it. I don't recall the last time I saw something this ridiculous. Absolute monster line wipes on a stock with 2 billion shares on issue. It's like, it's a fucking terrible thing to do. If you had any sense, you'd be like a hidden order at one level and just wait to get sold into. But I suspect it is a fat finger trade, and the same person might just have tried to bail out, and it was just a fucked up thing to see. I don't even know what to make of it, except perhaps it was a fat finger trade. That's all I can think of. Will it move tomorrow? Well, probably not. There's a looming that 20 million shares that was trying to be sold is still there. He didn't get sold into. So I'm kind of concerned for ATH. Didn't hold this one overnight because of that, and because it's just a shitty company in general. And it is also animal studies, right? Human studies, totally different thing. Animal studies, yeah, I can't remember the last time it's ever moved the market, right? So moving on, QEM, I've been repeatedly talking about this one. This is a pump, consolidate, and just keeps fucking pumping and consolidating. I don't know how many times I have to say pump, consolidate, pump, but here it is. I started loading in at 2.3, and it was yesterday. I was kind of watching this all day. It looked really nice. It kind of moved in the afternoon on really high volumes here, at least high comparative to the previous days. So intraday, nice big buyer at just before 2 p.m. And I sort of watched it. I came a bit late to the party here. I saw it at 2.5, come back down 2.3. And I sort of watched this level here at 2.3. This whole line here was just monster reloads. Constantly 23, 23, 23. Oh, and hit this level here as well. So 23 non-stop, 100k reload, 100k reload, 100k reload. Just didn't fucking stop. So to me, that you'd only really spot that if you're paying attention to the stock. And so I started adding onto the stock at 23. And funnily enough, it gapped down to 22 or 22.5 in auction, which is kind of funny to see considering the amount of reloads. And then we came back this morning and we saw reloads at this level here, 22.5 to 23. A lot at 22.5. And eventually the seller exhaustion came. And what we saw was a bit of a pump into consolidate. It's not very clean. It's not a particularly good chart. The point is that it did rally from 1.8 to 2.3 and held this level, 1.8 to 2.5. It held this level at 2.3, so it is holding the highs, and that's the important part. It's not a very clean consolidation, I'll admit that, but the order book clearly told a story that someone who was interested in buying would not let it go below 2.3. So that really got me interested in the trade. And then of course it popped off in the afternoon again, so just kind of the volume came in, rallied 2.8, perfect on target, and I'll show you the reason for that target at 2.8 was just simply this horizontal here. 2.8 was this level. So if we go back to the 1 minute chart, you'll see 2.8 rejection. I was looking at 2.5, which is this sort of horizontal here, which was the high of yesterday. I didn't pull back all the way, so I had to add on at 26.5 once this consolidation happens as well. Again, this is another pump and consolidate. It was, again, not a clean consolidation. The range was a bit high, but you get the idea. The idea is that pump holds the highs. That's the most important part, is that it holds the highs. So buying at 26.5, I was quite comfortable buying in, somewhere around that level at 26.5. The risk was clearly going to be below 25. Now, it's a little bit wider than I'd like. That's going to be 3 ticks till it hits support. The idea was to scale in that position at 25 or as close to 25 as possible, and then 24.5 would have been the stop loss. So that was the plan for that trade. Again, you guys know I fucking love pump, consolidate, pump. So I've been watching this one like a hawk, making sure it doesn't just collapse through. And then, of course, what do we have? We have another rally, and it holds this level here. 28 was the high. That's the support level. It held it comfortably here and here. Now, importantly, is the reloads at 28.5 were non-stop all day. They may seem like subtle volumes, but the idea, again, is, let me just draw it up on the 1 minute chart. And the idea is the same. We've got pump into holding the highs. And we've got another pump, hold the highs. What do we have again? Pump, hold the highs. So I think it's quite clear to see where the support levels are. It's the previous highs. You've got a support level there. We've got this 28 cent, which was a key support level, key resistance, now support. And the idea, again, is just going to be to make sure this 28 cent holds. If it collapses tomorrow, bad luck, did our best, made good money. Otherwise, the idea, again, is to watch it either consolidate a little bit longer, make one more push. My first target is 32.5. My final target would be 34. We open up the daily chart. Whoops. So on the daily, the idea behind 32 is to get in front of the 34 a little bit. Now, hitting the horizontal perfectly is not always a guarantee, so 34 is obviously the final target for me. I just want to get a little bit ahead of it, 32.5, scale out a part of my position, and try and aim as close to 34 as I can based on the price action. That's the plan for the trade. If it doesn't go according to plan, you know, this could just go sideways and grind at 28 for tomorrow, and then rally to the upside. That's the plan, right? So anything below 28, anything below this level, go on. I'm out. It's not a recommendation for you to buy, sell, or do anything. This is just my perspective of how I'm planning my trade for this stock. So I do have a financial position in this stock. Keep that in mind. And yeah, that's pretty much it for the review for today. I'll hopefully do a couple of these a week. And if you found any of this insight helpful, or if you, I don't know, it helps you be a better trader, hit that sub button for me.